President Trump is once again bragging about the results of a cognitive test he took last year, a test that is designed to detect cognitive impairment like Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. On Fox News, he went into detail about the questions he answered and how he says doctors were amazed by his ability to recall a simple set of words.
So the last time I was at the hospital, probably a year ago, I said to the doctor, it was Dr. Ronnie Jackson, I said, is there some kind of a test, an acuity test? And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy. And that's not an easy question. In other words, they ask it to you, they give you 5 names and you have to repeat them, and that's okay. If you repeat them out of order, it's okay, but you know, it's not as good. But then when you go back about 20, 25 minutes later and they say, go back to that question, they don't tell you this, go back to that question and repeat them. Can you do it? And you go, person, woman, man, camera, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
He sounds as if he's describing how he just discovered electricity and all he did was identify an elephant. It's like he's trying to create material for Sarah Cooper's satirical videos instead of addressing a health crisis in his country. And those tough questions at the end of the test that he constantly talks about, they include things like which city are you in, what day is it, and what month is it? The Montreal doctor who designed this test 25 years ago says it's supposed to be easy. Quote, this is not an IQ test or the level of how a person is extremely skilled or not. This test is supposed to help physicians detect early signs of Alzheimer's, and it became very popular because it was a short test and very sensitive for early impairment. On top of all of this, the president said that former White House physician Ronnie Jackson administered the test. And just a reminder that this is what Ronnie Jackson said about the president's health at the beginning of his presidency.
Overall, he has very, very good health, excellent health. He has a lot of energy and a lot of stamina.
Can you explain to me how a guy who eats McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and all those Diet Cokes and who never exercises is in as good a shape as you say he's in?
It's called genetics. I don't know. It's some people have just great genes. I told the president that if he had a healthier diet over the last 20 years, he might live to be 200 years old. I don't know. I think he will remain fit for duty for the remainder of this term and even for the remainder of another term if he's elected.
Not only is he a doctor, but apparently also a psychic. And just to reinforce that you should consider the source there, this is what Dr. Ronnie Jackson said last week about wearing masks.
And I'm a firm believer that that's at this point a personal choice. And I encourage people, if they want to wear a mask, to wear a mask. But I don't wear a mask all that often, to be honest with you.
A personal choice? Well, it is some kind of choice, but it is by definition not just a personal one. From the dictionary, personal, of affecting or belonging to a particular person rather than to anyone else. So not wearing a mask is a choice that may belong to one person, but it also affects other people too. And the proof is in a new model that the White House uses, which shows that if masks were universal, almost 34,000 Americans who will be dead by November 1st will instead be alive. Personal, please. And let's talk about another element of the president's interview. He gave quite the compliment to the Fox News doctor who was questioning him.
I watch you all the time, and I watch you're almost like my guide to this because, frankly, you really have a good take on it. You know how important it is.
Okay, so since Dr. Marc Siegel is the president's guide in this historic pandemic, It's worth looking at what the good doctor has advised millions over the past few months on. Here he is in March.
This virus should be compared to the flu because at worst case scenario, it could be the flu.
All right, obviously that was not true, and you can see that by the heartbreaking numbers that are there on the right side of your screen. But it was also not true at the time. 1 week after Siegel's remark, this is what Dr. Fauci said.
It is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu.
Dr. Siegel also went after the World Health Organization, much like the president has.
There's a quote from the head of the World Health Organization today. He said, "This is not a drill. This is a time for pulling out all the stops."
They are a bunch of alarmists. They are saber rattlers.
Okay, fast forward to May when Dr. Siegel downplayed the potential of a second wave in the U.S.
Regarding this fall, the 1918 second wave, I've been monitoring Australia, and so has Dr. Fauci. You know how many cases are in Australia today, Tucker? 11. Only 11 new cases. That's the Southern Hemisphere. That's essentially our November right now. It predicts that we're not going to have a big second wave. When our children go back to school, there's going to be plenty of testing. We're going to test teachers. We're going to test students. We have very mild cases among our young or asymptomatic, but we're going to keep an eye on them.
All right, two things. The U.S. isn't even out of its first wave. And in the weeks after Siegel made that comment, cases in the U.S. increased by 2.6 million. 63,000 more Americans died. And Siegel mentioned that we'd have plenty of testing for kids and teachers. We are getting closer to the restart of the school year, and testing is a disaster. It's taking 2 weeks for many Americans to get results. And on Dr. Fauci, who White House officials are publicly trying to undermine, Siegel has said he should just shut up.
What is going on with Dr. Fauci talking in one direction, Dr. Birx talking the opposite? And why is he talking in direct opposition to the president he is ostensibly serving?
He should not be. He's there to serve the president, and he's more of a virologist than a public health official.
Well, Dr. Siegel is more of a sycophant than a doctor, and he's not President Trump's coronavirus guide. President Trump appears to be his.